Welcome, everybody. I know you just got to see the welcome, and we're just so glad you're here with us. So whether it's good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're coming from, we welcome you. And we just wanted to take this time to do a live session with you to talk a little bit about the registry and the research exchange. And we're so excited to share more information with you. And we thought, what better place to do it? We have over 2,000 people here today. So we wanted to tell you about it and to get you excited about it, and also to really encourage you to sign up. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, and then I'm going to turn it over to Matthew, who is a lot more technical than me and can explain it in a much more exacting way, I think. So thank you, first of all, for being here and being part of our conference. It's an exciting milestone. As you heard in my opening remarks, we really are unveiling something that has the potential to transform the future of ovarian and endometrial cancer. It's a large-scale patient registry. It's going to start here in the US to begin with, but our plans are to expand it worldwide. So for those of you who I know are here from, I think, 55 other countries, hang tight because we're definitely going to be expanding. For too long, progress in our field has been slowed down by one major obstacle, and that is really the lack of large-scale data. And we know that information about patients' diagnoses and treatments and genetic profiles and long-term outcomes is scattered across different institutions, different countries, different formats. And it makes it incredibly hard for researchers to see the full picture, to understand patterns and move discoveries from the lab to the clinic. But imagine if we could bring all that information together in one secure, trusted place, building for collaboration, designed for discovery, empowering, basically by your voice and your experiences. And that's exactly what our registry is planning to do. So with a critical mass of data, we can accelerate breakthroughs from uncovering risk factors and biomarkers to identifying better treatments and which work for which patients, opening the door to really true precision medicine. We've seen this work in other disease areas. Registries in breast cancer help define molecular subtypes that are now actually guiding treatment. Registries in rare diseases have shortened the path from discovery to clinical trials, something we all want. A patient-powered registry can do the same for ovarian and endometrial cancer, and our community deserves this, really, nothing less. One especially powerful part of this registry is that it will include patient-reported outcomes, or PROs. These are direct insights from patients about their symptoms, the side effects, quality of life, and daily experiences living with this disease. PROs are often missed from traditional clinical data sets, yet they're crucial for understanding how treatments actually affect people's lives, not just their tumors. Capturing this information at scale will give researchers and clinicians a much fuller picture of what matters most to patients and how we can improve not only survival, but quality of life. Another powerful advantage is that building this registry will let us scale to enable cutting-edge AI and machine learning approaches. I know we're all hearing about that so much, and it's really had such an impact in other disease spaces. So we're excited to put this together to be able to utilize it in ovarian and endometrial cancer. These tools thrive on large, high-quality data sets, and with enough information can uncover patterns and predict outcomes. But having it at scale, it will allow us to apply these tools to find patterns that no human could detect alone, really bringing us closer to truly personalized care. By fueling these technologies with real-world data, we can move simply from observing the disease to anticipating it and outsmarting it. OCRA is uniquely positioned to make it happen because we are the largest and most trusted ovarian cancer organization in the world, and we're an impartial convener of patients and researchers and clinicians across the globe. We've built an international consortium with some other ovarian cancer organizations to ensure that this effort will reflect diverse populations and priorities around the world. And we're partnering with leading technology experts to ensure this registry is built securely, ethically, and with cutting-edge tools that will maximize its impact. But none of it's possible without you. This registry can only be as powerful as the community behind it. Every single person who joins brings us closer to answers and closer to cures. So if you're an ovarian or endometrial cancer patient or survivor, please sign up today. And if you're a researcher or clinician joining us, please sign up to be alerted when our research exchange goes live. And if you'll be at AACR later this week, please come by and see us. To sign up for the registry or for the research exchange, go to ocrahope.org/registry. And I think Tracy from our team has put that in the chat as well. So ocrahope.org/registry. And be a part of our historic effort. Your data will remain confidential, and your participation will directly help us drive the research breakthroughs we all really urgently need. In terms of timing, we're launching early 2026, so by signing up now, you'll receive notice as soon as we're ready for you to get started. Together, we can change the future of gynecologic cancer, and it starts right here, right now with you. So now that you've heard why this registry is so important, I am thrilled to introduce someone who has been instrumental in making this vision a reality. Matthew Trunnell helped us architect the overall structure for this initiative, and he was the one who's first introduced us to this outstanding team we've been working with, who are working with us to build the broader research exchange. He brings a wealth of data experience from many places, including the Broad and Fred Hutch Cancer Center, and he continues to serve as a trusted advisor as we bring this very ambitious effort to life. Matthew is going to share more about what the Research Exchange is, how the patient registry fits into it, and how this whole ecosystem will accelerate discovery. So please join me in welcoming Matthew Trunnell.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Audra. It's really wonderful to be here. It's been an honor to work with the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance over this last, I don't even know, year or two. It's been a time. I'd like to start just by taking a minute to give my experience and why I'm here and why I think this is this effort that OCRA is undertaking now is the right one at the right time. So my background is really biomedical, IT, and data. I've been working in genomics for a long time. I came to the Cancer Center in Seattle, Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center, with a mandate to really help realize the power of big data in cancer research. And it turns out that's not easy. So let's see here. I joined the Cancer Center in 2015. In 2016, there was a paper released. Microsoft had been studying the history of people entering search terms in their browser, specifically in the Bing browser. And they demonstrated that with all of this data, they were able to identify pancreatic cancer patients before they had been diagnosed clinically. This is really tremendous. And all of us in the field got super excited about this. Like, yes, this is the promise. This is how data is going to start to shift things at a large scale. But the number of search queries that Microsoft had to go through was in the hundreds of billions. That's a lot of data points. And that's one of the biggest challenges we face, is that we actually in our field just don't have enough data. At a cancer center, even a major cancer center like the Fred Hutch, for any given specific cancer, none of us have enough data to bring these new computational tools to bear. Sharing across organizations has been a historical challenge and remains one today. Even within the cancer centers, it's very difficult to share data across organizations for any number of reasons. But the most basic one is that the incentives don't align. If you want me to share my data, I have to do work to make it usable and documented and clear, but you gain all the benefit. So what has to happen in order to really start to drive a data sharing culture that can start to realize some of these efforts? And as Audra mentioned, to really get the power of what we're starting to see AI deliver now in other fields, and what big data has done in other areas of technology now for years and years, but not so much life sciences research and certainly not healthcare, is that we need better data and we need AI-ready data. Another thing that's really subtle and is going to become so much more important is that the current research model disseminates research findings through journals. This has been the standard, sort of the gold standard for research for probably 100 years or more. The challenge is, between the time of submitting a paper to a journal and that being published, and therefore the results available to the community, can be anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, depending on the journal and other factors. That is not something that's going to foster research at the speed that we need to be driving it to keep up. So how do you make research go faster? The first thing obviously is money. Research takes money. And so funding research is a key piece of making things go faster. And obviously something that OCRA has been involved in since its inception. Other is bringing the community together more, like this forum today. So here, in these opportunities to share experience, to share questions, to share opportunities, to share frustrations, this is the way that we can provide the context that's needed to propel research. And now I think the big opportunity before the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance is to actually source and curate data. So we've mentioned again and again, data are the thing that's missing right now in order to really bring these new tools to bear. And an organization like OCRA can help in a couple of ways. One is it can provide a place simply to host data. So as you may or may not be aware, data generated as part of a research project may or may not ever be made available to anyone else. The product of the research is the paper, and the data may end up on the shelf. It may end up posted in several different places. It may not end up posted at all. So by providing a place to host data, the OCRA can really help to advance the community. Curating data, this is a subtle point, not something we won't talk about a lot today, but data are, I almost design messy. And if you're working with data that were generated for another purpose, making data work together is very hard. And this is one of these areas where AI now offers a new capability that hasn't been available before. And we can demonstrate that we can leverage AI tools to harmonize data, to be able to work across data sets to find more information. And then finally, there are opportunities by building an active research community where people are coming together and working in the same place, that we can more rapidly disseminate information. So this idea of micro-publications, idea of building a social network around the research process itself, where the community as a whole can comment on research priorities, can comment on research findings well before they've made it to publication and are available in, say, a year. So the research exchange, and I'm going to stop showing slides now because I want to talk in sort of a more specific level about this. So, stop over here. So presuming people can still see me.
Yes, you're good.
You can see me myself. So the research exchange is two major pieces. The first piece, and the most important piece, because it represents the missing data right now, is the patient registry. These data are, I'm going to take a step back. Think of scientific research as sort of looking at something through a telescope. And you try to bring it more and more into focus. And right now our view of cancer is pretty blurry, but we're getting clearer in some places. But we're still a far way from being able to understand why an individual with a certain type of cancer responds differently to the same treatment than another individual with the same type of cancer. That level of focus, to get to that level of detail, requires your individual stories and your individual data. The patient registry represents the promise of an asset, a data asset, that really has not existed at scale in this community, in the global community. And in advancing this, OCRA is actually responding to the broader research community who've been saying, we need this. We don't know who's going to do it, but we need this. So somebody has to do it. The second piece of the registry, I hold my hands up higher here, sit further back, is the what we're calling the Discovery Center. And so here is the opportunity. We will go and acquire, offer to host, in some cases directly source data from where it's living on shelves, where it's being hosted, but where funding no longer exists to keep it alive, and bring it together in an environment together with computational tools and analytic tools such that the research community can not just the ovarian cancer research community, and this is part of the really interesting thing for me, is by bringing these together, we can now invite the AI research community, the machine learning research community. We can invite investigators who are not associated with major institutions. It could be a high school student who wants to do a research project. We can provide access to high quality data and questions that need to be answered, sort of meaningful questions that will be available. And so that's a big piece. It is the case that a vast majority of the data that exists in this space will not be able to be shared easily. That's just the reality. Data have constraints, they're jurisdictional constraints, they're constraints of consent or other issues. But that doesn't mean we can't know about them, and that doesn't mean we can't start the process of making those data available. So in addition to having a library, a wealth of data, really, honestly, all the data that we can get our hands on, and we're starting that process now, we will maintain really a global directory of ovarian cancer, gynecologic cancer data assets. So this builds on work that I was involved in while at the Cancer Center in Fred Hutch, working with Cancer Center in Oregon and a Cancer Center in Vancouver, just to enable the process of data discovery. This is a big piece of what's necessary to fuel research, is how do you make a researcher aware that there are data over there that may or may not have been generated, even for ovarian cancer or gynecologic cancer research, but is directly relevant to the kinds of questions that I'm asking with data. So enabling that data discovery is another big piece and something that we're working on. So wrapped around this now is a kind of communal research environment. So I, as a researcher, can come into this environment, have access to data, have access to a wealth of computational tools. This environment exists today. And here I can conduct my research. I have the option of sharing my data to others in the community. I don't have to yet, but I do have to make my data discoverable by others in the community. It has to be clear that what I'm working on and why. This is part of the what's expected of someone participating in this environment. And this is something different than the way research works today. So this, in all honesty, is something that I've been pushing against for a decade, to try to foster more open collaboration around data and more collaborative research. We know it's possible because we see it in other fields. So for instance, pediatric cancers, which are all tremendously rare, that field has been much better about sharing data with each other than most of the rest of the cancer research community. My belief is that there is something special about the gynecologic cancer community. It is, and I see this through the ovarian cancer research alliance. I see their reach into this tremendous community. of patients, of advocates, of caretakers, of researchers, both academic and commercial. And it is this community that we need to bring together. So now imagine I am a researcher, I am working in this environment, and I'm not working off in the shadows. I'm working in a space where people can see me work. People have the opportunity of asking questions, I can share a figure that I generate and people can comment on it immediately. And I can track all of these comments. People can make comments on data. I can leverage the AI capabilities that we see in everywhere else today and that we don't see in research. For instance, I see that you're using this kind of data. Other people that have been interested in that data have also been interested in that data set over there. This is one of these simple applications of machine learning and artificial intelligence that that I believe will actually provide substantial value in this kind of environment. You're asking this question of the data. You may not know this investigator over there, but they're doing something very similar. Let me make introductions for you. So by having an AI-powered community environment, we believe we can start to break down the cultural barriers that have kept collaborative research from really scaling to the point where it needs to be. But this is part of research today. Science has become a team sport. The major funding agencies have been a little slow to pick up on this. So most of the places we're seeing this are privately funded efforts. And I think this is an opportunity very much for the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance to lean in. And we've seen the successes of social networks in many other environments. And there are places in conventional social networks in Twitter and LinkedIn where some of the more open scientists are sharing. We see honestly, mostly in the younger generation of scientists, in a willingness to share software and computer code that is generated to do data analysis, to share that more openly. So we know that the pieces, we know the seeds of this culture are there, and bringing this culture together is the key. And having the entire community participate is what's going to make this different. So some capabilities that we will be able to offer because of the social connectivity of this network and because of the AI tooling and infrastructure in place. So first of all, be able to support conversations around anything, whether it's a data, a result, a question. Being able to ask questions, I think, is a really big one. And in general, I'd like to see that this community inside the research exchange help prioritize the research funding that organizations like OCRA allocate. That is, we want everyone's voice in this community to be saying, yes, this is where we believe we need to be focusing efforts. As part of what the research exchange can offer, and I think I'll demonstrate this now, but I can speak to it. There are some things that AI is very good at now and things that AI is not very good at. And if you follow the news, I'm sure you've been hearing about that. And when I say AI, I don't mean I want to bring in something that's going to hallucinate ideas about what we should be doing. But there are some things that we know we can leverage these tools for. And one of them is really quite simple, but we're finding it quite powerful, is being able to go out and just survey the literature and report back a summary of what's going on. So in July of this year, in ovarian cancer alone, there were 229 papers published. If you expand that to endometrial and other gynecologic cancers, it goes up by many hundreds. And that's more than any investigator is going to read. You just can't do that. So And how do we accelerate the propagation of information? Well, one is we can generate regular summaries, and we'll do this, of what is the current state of research? What's been happening in the last month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? Now we can bring in other tools to say, well, given this landscape, where are there opportunities? Where are we missing? It looks like an awful lot of people are researching over here. There's some interesting findings over here, but maybe there's not much going on. So by bringing this information into the community and asking the community to say, all right, where do we think the opportunities are? And now we're not just asking individual investigators to say, what do you think is most important? Because an individual investigator is likely to say, what I'm working on is most important. Completely understandable. But when you ask a community that involves everyone, I think we'll start to see something different come forward. These AI tools that we can bring into the data environment allow us to facilitate data-intensive computational research and make it more broadly available to people who don't have necessarily computational skills. So we can, leveraging some machine learning tools, say, here are some data sets, and have a system, an AI system, say, these are probably the analyses that you want to run on those. I'll just go ahead and do that for you. And here are some pictures, here are some scientific figures. Are these the things that are relevant? Is this what you were looking for? Yes, no. That's a very different process than the current research workflow, which starts with, we need to find data. I'll download some from over here and some from over here and work to harmonize. Excuse me. And now I'll go find software, or I'll write some software to do the analysis, and I'll do that. And I've generated some data, and now I'll generate some figures. This is something that we expect to be really transformative. I don't know exactly how long I'm supposed to be talking here, so I want to check in here because
I think it's kind of, we're freewheeling. So Matthew, if you feel like there's any other important points, like if I'm a patient and I'm uploading all of my information, including my electronic health records, can I ask a question at some point? Did you say yes? The audio went out for a second.
Yes, absolutely. So, so the idea is that these tools are entirely open, and we want to broaden the number of people that are asking questions of data. And I'm a strong believer in citizen science.
Yeah.
Not the people who are working at universities who can ask questions. Historically, it has been people at universities who have the resources to generate data. But there are other opportunities, and this is something that I think OCRA has an opportunity to lean in, which is actually the generation of data. So the patient registry represents some opportunity to generate an entirely new data asset, but there are others as well. So, and again, prioritized by the community, what's missing from data? What kind of data do we need? And this is something that a funding organization can say, okay, we will go and pay to generate those data and make them available to the community. So I spent about a decade at the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard, and a major focus of the Broad Institute was building large data resources that were available to the community. And this is shown to be very effective, that if you build data and invite people to come and analyze it openly, they will, and a substantial amount of research can come out of that. So
I know I'm going to have to use the phrase, if we build it, they will come. I'm going to have to. So it's true, though. It's true, right?
Indeed. But so it's actually a way of leveraging funding differently. So instead of pushing on an individual investigator, you try to lift the whole field up by bringing resources to bear. And that's the opportunity here.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've seen previews of it. It's very exciting. I know there's really two portions. So we have like the analytic environment that is, with where there's going to be a lot of data housed, and then of course we have the patient registry, which is sort of not separate, but within that larger umbrella. Is that right? And
Yes.
I got to see a demonstration the other night, which showed how easy it was to really upload our records and do all the things that need to happen. So that will be there, obviously de-identified data. But let's say I'm a researcher at a major medical institution. We won't name anyone, we won't call anybody out, that doesn't want to share data, that has a very strict data privacy policy, right? And so I've got all this data, I'd like everybody to know about it, but I can't. How will the research exchange help with that?
Um, so I think there are a range of reasons that an investigator at let's say an academic medical center may not be able to share data. Some of those are tied to patient consent. Some of those are tied to organizational boundaries. So mention that we should be able to at least make those data discoverable.
Right.
I should
Like a
know.
storefront, right? Like I can see what's there, I just can't get in.
That's right.
But I know to contact that person. So I'm working on this and someone else is working on that. And now I see the data's there and I can reach out.
Right. So typically then what comes next is having to put a data sharing agreement into place, or a so-called materials transfer agreement into place in order to get access to data. This is another place that the OCRA can help by having all of these template documents, and something that absolutely should do. It may be that even with that, we can't share data openly. So then we come to the space of federated data analysis. And here, this is certainly and this is something also that is going to come up in cross-jurisdictional areas where we can't move data across national borders. This happens a lot. But we can move analyses across borders. So this will become part of what we can do in our environment. In the short term, is part of working towards this, the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance is funding another effort to prove out across 3 countries the ability to do this kind of so-called federated data analysis, where you don't have to share your data with me. Instead, let me give you the question I want to ask of the data, and I never get to see the data, I just get to see the answer to the question. And it turns out you can do this with machine learning. So if you're trying to build a model, it is possible to say, I'm not going to see all the data at once. I'm going to go and see it privately in pieces, but I can still build a model from it. So we will continue to pursue those data, because that is a lot of the data globally.
Right, absolutely. You and I have had this conversation, but I'd like to have it for everybody that, I think I said it in my opening remarks that, often science is so interesting that you just meet serendipitously at a conference and you start talking to somebody, and that's where, oh, you're working on that. Oh, I'm working on this. What about this idea? This to me just creates that opportunity every day. Do you agree? It's almost like
Absolutely.
a serendipity lab in a way.
That's right. No, the intention really is to engineer serendipity. So that by being in an environment where people and where the environment itself actually knows what you're interested in and what's
Well,
available.
tell me, right? Doesn't it ping me if I say, hey, I'm interested in this? It'll ping me when somebody puts that data in.
That's right.
It's amazing. I'm still amazed. I get very excited hearing about it. Are there any other points you think that are important to make? I think we have just a few more minutes. We definitely will have more information. I just want to say that out loud to everybody. Please sign up at the link that we've provided. And again, it's ocrahope.org/registry. And that's for researchers, clinicians, and patients, anybody that would like to sign up. But we're going to be sending out detailed information. And I know there's a lot of questions, and I know a lot of the staff have been answering the questions as we go. So we will have all the answers to those questions. Don't worry. Everything's good, and all the questions are good. So thank you so much. But Matthew, anything extra that you'd like to add?
Well, I do want to emphasize, and just again, based on experience, this is not easy. We are really trying to drive a different model of research. And there are investigators that won't be comfortable working in this environment. We know that. What will make all of the difference is having enough interesting, high quality data and having a community that is engaged.
That's right.
And these are the two things that I think that this assembled virtual body can really help with.
I agree.
This is what's going to drive success of this approach.
And we have such an amazing community. I think this is just hopefully an opportunity that everyone feels is a chance to do something. We're going to do something, and we're going to do it together. So we're really excited about it. Anything else? Any closing comments? I'm just cognizant of our time, so.
Yeah. Other than that, no. I mean, this is tremendously exciting. I want to offer myself to answer questions. I know that we can't do it in this structure, but I can have my information shared out.
That'd be great. And you know what? We can also encourage people to write to info@osirihope.org if they have questions, and we can get those routed to you, I think.
Okay.
Well, thank you very, very much for being here, Matthew, and for all of you tuning in to hear about this. We've talked today about what the registry might make possible, faster discoveries, smarter treatments, and really hope for the future. But it only will work if we all take part. Every person who joins is going to bring us one step closer to the answers that we urgently need. So we're really calling upon our community to please, 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 sign up today, become an ambassador for this project, and please ask anyone that you know that would be eligible to also sign up. I think that's so important. And we are the largest, most trusted voice in ovarian cancer. We will take very, very good care of your data. We will explain all of that, believe me, when we send you all the information. And we've really built this registry with a leading technology partner that is going to make your data secure, respected, and put it to work for real change. We're calling it the Living Lab. The scientific part is called the Discovery Lab, and the patient part is called the Living Lab, and basically with your experience powering progress. So again, sign up at osirihope.org/registry and join us and just be a part of the movement with us and help us bring about breakthroughs. We're really glad you all joined us today. And Matthew, thank you for your time. All right. So send your questions if you have any to info@osirihope.org. All right. Thanks, everybody. Us and just be a part of the movement with us and help us bring about breakthroughs. We're really glad you all joined us today. And Matthew, thank you for your time. All right. So send your questions if you have any to info@osirihope.org. All right. Thanks, everybody, for your time. All right. So send your questions if you have any to info@osirihope.org. All right. Thanks, everybody.